Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. Today's topic is an interesting one because it's a good friend of mine, Brian Cunningham, who's been on the show before. And today, well, welcome to the show, Brian, first of all.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Good to be on again with you, buddy.
I want to get right to the topic, though, because the topic is going to be an interesting one. I've seen a lot of people getting involved with ayahuasca lately, you know, doing these shamanic trips, so they call them. Dorian Yates talked about it a lot on his interview. I've talked about it a little bit in my past. I've done it. I know you've gotten into doing it recently. Talk to me a little bit about what ayahuasca is, just for the people out there who don't know what it is, and what it does to your body.
Yeah, sure, Dave. Well, just so you know, I've been doing it for 4 years now. I did it in Brazil first about 4 years ago, and I've gotten to the point now where I actually do it by myself. I can do it alone and feel really comfortable. And as I told you before, you don't take ayahuasca. Ayahuasca takes you. It has a very unique profile among psychedelics where, in a sense, it's unpredictable, you know, and it really is terrifying. To tell you the truth, I mean, Tim Ferriss, Elliot Hulse has done. He's admitted to doing it on London Real, but Tim Ferriss wrote about it on a magazine blog somewhere, and he said like it was the most terrifying experience of his life. He spent 4 or 5 hours rolling around on the carpet, thinking he was going to die. He woke up the next morning with carpet burns and realized it was the most profound break. It was like 20 years of therapy in one night, basically. You know what I mean? So it's gone viral now, as you know. I read somewhere in the Atlantic magazine there's probably about 100 or so ceremonies a night in Manhattan alone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they explode. You know, listen, all the elites are always on the cutting edge of what's going on. The biohackers, Silicon Valley, the Manhattanites and stuff. And this is really, you know, either something like what's it called, like microdosing has gotten really popular, but also doing full-blown blasts or full-blown trips, in a sense, has gotten really popular in Silicon Valley and Manhattan because of the profound insights, as you know, that people, I mean, we are really on the verge of a collapse societally, and people are clamoring for things like this to start bringing back ancient wisdom that we've lost, in a sense, right? I mean, and this really gets into bodybuilding a lot, Dave. There's a lot of cross threads going on here that we could talk about, you know?
Now, yeah, let's talk about this. I did ayahuasca a number of years back. I did it twice. Did it once in Manhattan. I think I did it once in California. The California one was a little better because I think your surroundings really influence your experience. And what it does is it's a chemical in your brain. What is it called? DMT or something like that?
Actually, the current research shows is a combination. I've actually smoked DMT myself before I did ayahuasca, and the experience is very different, actually. You know, it's I mean, they all do something similar in that they get yourself, your ego part of the brain out of the way, so you can experience like non-local consciousness, in a sense, or what maybe people would call ego death. But DMT is like really quick. It's a very intense blast. People see a lot of fractalizations and aliens and all kinds of other beings, and they come back down. So it's very intense, but not quite as profound as and insightful as ayahuasca is. And the reason why, of course, is because ayahuasca is a combination of two plants, Bonosteris caapi, which is typically called ayahuasca, and chacruna, which has the DMT in it. And what they find now is that it's the THH in Bonosteris caapi that also is psychoactive, in a sense, very similar to the DMT. It's not just an MAOI and a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It also functions as a psychedelic in and of its own right, and that's what gives the ayahuasca combination a very special, I guess, experience among users. You know.
Now, I always thought it was very hard to procure. How would someone like yourself do it in your house? You know, can you buy the ingredients somewhere?
Yeah, well, first of all, I've never done it anywhere where it's illegal, just so you know. So that's one thing I want to admit. Yeah. But technically, you could go on eBay or on other websites and buy the plants, because the plants themselves are not illegal. Gotcha. And you know, if you were to do it somewhere where it was legal, and I believe ayahuasca is the only psychedelic that is pretty much legal. I know it's legal in Utah and maybe in California somewhere as well. Right. So and the reason why, of course, is because nobody does ayahuasca recreationally. It is never really an enjoyable trip, unlike, say, marijuana or MDMA or even mushrooms, I guess. So that's the reason why most governments don't touch it. But you could buy the plants very easily, and Googling how to make it, figure out how to make it pretty quickly, just so you know, and do your own home brew. Yeah. Not that I recommend that, of course.
Of course not.
Now, if you told myself, and it's been very terrifying alone. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I will say one thing. When I did it, I was so glad that there were people there with me who understood. Because when you do these ceremonies, a lot of times there's a shaman, and the shaman's chanting and singing, and the music they're playing really induces the hallucinations or whatever you want to call them. And they bring you up and they bring you down, and then they have helpers that walk around there that help you out. If some people freak out. My biggest fear when I did it was I didn't want to throw up, because I know a lot of people vomit up and puke, and I for some reason I just didn't want to throw. I didn't want to deal with that, which luckily I didn't. I never, both times I did it, I never threw up. I got a little queasy, but I never threw up, and it was a good experience I had. Like I said, it wasn't like you're going to a nightclub and getting high on ecstasy. It's a trip. It's a journey you're taking, in a sense. And it seems like when you do it,
it really is sacred. Yeah.
Yeah. When you do it, I think it's like the next time you do it, it's like a continuation of the first one, almost.
Yeah.
That's what they say. They say you should do it multiple times. I never did it more than twice, but I didn't think I needed to do it anymore. But what was your experience doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that being a human being, you have so much, like, I'm not sure what the word is, but a lot of like crap inside, man. Childhood experiences you haven't resolved, mother-father issues, edible complexes, you name it. A lot of us are carrying baggage. We're all the walking wounded. And Dave, the statistics back this up. I mean, come on, look at the country with the heroin epidemic, the fentanyl abuse, abuse of alcohol, junk food. I mean, you and I both know the statistics are pointing to something really, really troubling in the human psyche. And ayahuasca is, like I said, it's a very condensed, accelerated version of therapy, basically, Just so you know, you can take ginger to ease the queasy stomach and put off the vomiting. Ginger does work effectively.
Oh, really?
But I can say one thing, this is kind of funny, actually. If you do ayahuasca properly, you'll want to vomit, because you will go so, pardon my French, freaking deep inside your psyche, and you will uncover shit that you have thick walls, like doors, blocking your ability to access those dark parts of yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you vomit, you'll feel like you're actually emotionally involved. You're vomiting up that emotional shit that is inside you that really is like messing up your life. I mean, listen, Dave, it's so easy for us to go around with our rational mind and think we can solve people's problems. But look at everybody. People are not solving their shit. The mind that they use to create their life is not really capable of solving our problems for us. And so this lets you go deep inside. And the vomiting is really part of that purgative action that has an emotional component to it. It's actually very healing. So, I definitely would agree with you that, you don't want to lose control. And yet, when you die, dude, the truth is, if you die properly, think about it. It's embarrassing. You defecate. I mean, there's, dying is fucked up, buddy. It really is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm not kidding.
Death is the physical body. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So if you were to die on ayahuasca, which again is that experience of transcendence or breakthrough or ego death, whatever you want to call it, it is embarrassing. It's humiliating. You're brought down to the fucking lowest of low. Pardon my French. I shouldn't curse. But the bottom line is, though, is that is where you touch the transcendent and you really start to realize there's so much more going on in this world, man. I mean, it's the relinquishing of control, and the vomiting is part of that I think is really part of the healing process. And maybe you're lucky, Dave. You don't need healing. But I can tell you, as I get older, I realize I am a bag of stuff. Let's just leave it at that, right?
No, I made some very good insights. Actually, one of the things that I remember, I was in New York. I was it was actually like in a yoga studio. It was up maybe on the 20th floor or something like that. And there was a big bay window overlooking the city below. And they had us in this yoga, it was like a little aerobic studio. And it was so hot in there, I was dying. And so I at one point I got up during the ceremony, and I walked out to use the bathroom, and I was just hot, and I was standing by the window. And I thought the stuff had worn off already, but evidently it had not. And I relived my grandfather, my father's father, had fallen from a building, had a terrible accident. He was like one of the only people to survive. A bathtub fell on top of him. The whole building collapsed on top of him. They pulled him out of there. He had shattered pelvis, and they said he'd never walk. Of course he did, and he survived. But I relived that. As I looked down, I became like my grandfather, and I was falling. And it was the craziest thing. I actually felt everything he felt on the fall down. It was the most bizarre experience I had ever. And once again, I thought the stuff had worn off, but it was.
Dude, it's crazy. DNA is just a memory. I mean, think about it. DNA is a memory of what worked for our ancestors. So, if you think about that to some extent, why couldn't there be some kind of quantum mechanical thing going on there, a cloud in a sense that we don't know about DNA that carries more memories? Right. I mean, we behave in a way, we're afraid of heights because our ancestors that, were afraid of heights survived to pass on those genes. Right. So, there's no, who can say what you're accessing when you go deep into that psyche of the subconscious in a sense? Right. I mean, dude, I've had, I went back into the womb and here I am inside my mother and I'm like, oh my God, because I have a lot of issues with my mom. I struggle with her. She has had a lot of issues growing up as a kid and stuff. And it's like, I go back into the womb and I'm like, and I'm on the ground vomiting and I'm in my vomit. And I'm like, how could I ever, hold anything against my mother as an example? It's like, this is like Mother Earth, my mother, they became one and the same. And I realized that's the reason I'm here. I was so grateful for that opportunity to even be here, actually, that like my issues just like resolved immediately. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's once the thing is over, you almost feel like a sense of relief. Like you did. Thank God I did it. But while you were going through it, it was rough. But afterwards, you feel so calm and so at peace. It's pretty amazing experience. And like I said, if you had to recommend like someone where people can go do this, or what would be a good place to start looking, what could you tell people?
That's the hard part, man. Really, I mean, finding a reputable shaman. There's a few that I know of up here, upstate, but they don't want to be talked about. They it's all like kind of closed off. It's a very private circle in a sense, So you really have to start getting out and networking. I'm not really sure how the hell you'd find some. I mean, most people know they fly down to Icaros or Cusco in Peru, or maybe even to like Manaus in Brazil to do ayahuasca with a shaman down there. But that's gotten so popular now. A lot of them are scammers. There's like all these fake shaman out there because there's a demand for it, actually, Well,
Dorian Yates is doing some kind of thing in the Amazon, so maybe people can contact him via his Facebook page, and I know he's leading a group down there. He's a big ayahuasca guy.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, you could do. You're right. The Facebook ayahuasca group. I've been a member for 4 years now. It went from like 25,000 like 4 years ago to like 80,000. So it's really growing in popularity. Yeah. That might be a good place to find some ayahuasca, reputable ayahuasca shaman to start your journeys and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Now, what's this micro dosing of ayahuasca that's going on? I hear. What's his name? Dr. Tony Huge told me he was doing that. What are people doing?
Yeah. I mean, Dave, just so you know, there's a renaissance in psychedelic research. You heard of the MAPS organization? It's a multi-aspect psychedelic, scientific symposium. Harvard and Yale and all these big institutions are actually looking at psychedelics now because of their profound healing power for mental health issues like PTSD, you name it. There's really an explosion of academic research into it. And microdosing is one thing that people have been doing now for a while, not just ayahuasca, probably more LSD. I'm not really into all the synthetic stuff, so I couldn't speak to it. But I know that microdosing of LSD has gotten really popular in Silicon Valley and psilocybin as well, because they're more predictable. But now people are even talking about microdosing ayahuasca as well, even just maybe not so much ayahuasca, but the DMT-containing plant itself, chacruna. You could do that actually, and microdose that, and get like a lot more creativity. More calm and peace, maybe some stress reduction. You become a better version of yourself in essence. And so that's probably what's feeding the popularity of it.
Right. Now that's the ultimate rationalization of the drug user, right? You become better. At what point is it non-productive or maybe not good for you? I mean, do you think you can do too much of the stuff?
I've got friends that have like 90 or 100 trips, and which is a lot. One of my friends, and I'm not here to judge anybody for what they've gotten out of it. But if you're not careful with it, you can it can feed your ego sometimes also, because you come out with this idea of, like godlike knowledge or insight. And if you're not careful at how you approach it, it can, in a sense, turn on you and maybe like make your ego even bigger, actually, Yeah. Ken Wilber is a very famous kind of new age spiritual guy. He's got a lot of videos on YouTube. He talks about the fact that if you don't combine ayahuasca with a regular spiritual practice, then it becomes very empty in and of itself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so to really get the most out of it, I mean, you need to commit to something like a ritual. I mean, Dave, if you want to have a big muscle, you got to go to the gym. You're committed to a lifestyle that, in a sense, fosters having a healthy body. Right. And the mind is the most important part of your existence. I mean, dude, the mind is everything. What part of everything don't you understand, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, your entire experience of life is based around your mind. Even the fact that you feel inadequate, need to build more muscle or make more money or have bigger guns, or all this crap that we do is based on our perceptions. So I would say that, you want to treat the mind with respect and start developing a ritualistic approach to the mind on a daily basis as well. And meditation is one of those ways that has been proven scientifically to really ground the mind and cause profound changes in your brain chemistry, similar to what ayahuasca does. They both, in a sense, shrink that default mode network, which is a series of brain areas that work to create the neurological basis of self. And so when you work on that area and you kind of chip away at it and shrink it, then your sense of self-importance diminishes, you know? And you've got that because I saw you on with Valentino last week, actually. Yeah. You were saying, like, you know what? All the fucking haters, nothing bothers me. I'm like, you know, Dave's got it. Like, you're right, because you don't want to be so sensitive in life where you're so self-conscious about how do I look? How do I act? Do people like me or not? Once you don't care, as you know, you're much more successful. And meditation and sacred plant medicines can help all the young guys get there faster, you know?
I think, you know, when I was doing ayahuasca, there was a woman there who had done like 50 of them already. Like every week she does one. And I think sometimes people use that also as like a crutch, and it's like an escape. And so I you know, when I did the second one, I said to myself, you know what? And this was what, 5-6 years ago maybe. I said, I don't need to do this anymore. I got it. I understand. Something like clicked in me. I'm like, you know what? I feel like I don't need to do it anymore. It was the weirdest thing. It was like I got the meaning of what I was supposed to get out of it, and I didn't need to go there again. Now, that's not to say maybe in the future I might not need to go back there, but at that point, I got it. Something said to me, you understand what's going on now. And I think that people, you know, can get to that quicker than they think. It's not necessarily, it doesn't need to take 10 years to get to that. It can happen overnight, you know?
Oh yeah, you can definitely, listen, you can have an epiphany. I mean, the product you carry that you sell on your website, my Euphoria X,
yes,
people have called me and had epiphanies on that because it elevates GABA, and GABA is a chemical elevated by meditation.
Yep.
So without a doubt, you can have that. But let me just share one thing. The research that the scientists are doing in Brazil on ayahuasca users shows that the most profound changes are with regular and consistent use. The Santo Daime religion in Brazil takes in criminals and rapists and vagabonds. They come in as the lowest of the lows in society, and the science studies show that when they come out, they are the highest functional people of society, actually. So they do believe that regular use can cause, but again, it's within a certain context, right? It's in a religion, it's in a society that really enforces that behavior. So I think that regular use for a lot of people can be beneficial. And the second thing too, you know, Aubrey Marcus talked about ayahuasca a long time ago, and he said, yeah, you know, when the phone call ends, hang up the phone, meaning like, you know, I'm done with it or whatever. And I would say that's great. Hang up the phone. You're right. You got the message, hang up the phone. But Dave, in my life personally, that phone keeps ringing. My phone, I am always pushed to grow, buddy. I mean, in so many ways, whether it be taking care of my body and slowing the aging process, or being more successful as a father or a coach or a businessman. For me, there's never ending need to improve, buddy, really. So for me, it's always going to be an ongoing journey of evolution.
Yeah, but I think at some point when you get that you can access a higher power, okay, you can call it source, you can call it whatever, and that you could be a creative being by accessing this. Once you understand how to do that, I think you don't necessarily, I think ayahuasca might be good to remind yourself of that if you forget, but I think if you're always accessing, and I think you are as well as I am, you know how to access that source when you need it. It's like you don't need someone to tell you how to do it again. You kind of know how to get there. Now, like you said, there are a lot of people that have very deep-rooted emotional issues that I think ayahuasca works well. You know, they've also said ayahuasca helps cure certain people of cancers, and I believe that because I think that a lot of cancers are emotional blockages that need to be released. So I think that's how that works. I don't think it has any healing effects other than, you know, a psyche healing effects, you know.
I mean, dude, look how powerful placebo effect is. I mean, we can't even get our hands around how placebo can work.
Right.
But apparently it activates parts of the brain that upregulate immune function, as an example. So if placebo can work, why couldn't ayahuasca work even more powerfully? You're right.
Right.
You know?
Now, what have you been up to? Because I know you're what did you buy, a farm you're living on?
Yeah, I got a farm, organic farm, and you know, I'm up here upstate in Dutchess County, which is like God's country. It's just so beautiful up here. You got to come up sometime, buddy. Really, most
in
New
the
Yorkers
summer,
don't
not the winter.
Yeah, how nice it is, you know. But doing that, I'm still doing my stress and anxiety products. You know, I got this Gabatrol and Euphoria X, which you carry, they're doing really well.
The Euphoria sells great. People love it. Big Lenny likes it too. I just want to let you know. I gave him a bottle to try. He's a big advocator of Euphoria.
No
you know, a lot of bodybuilders have stress and anxiety, and they don't know how to release it. And this stuff works great. I sell a lot of it because of that. You know, I know the product you make for me is a little stronger than the other ones out there. So.
Yeah, sure. But you saw some of my videos. I'm really getting more into like helping people realize the importance of the mind-body connection. Because as you know, I mean, dude, you and I've known you for 30 years now, man. We go back a long way, actually. And, you know, you got to wonder sometimes, like, you know, as a scientist, you understand the more you know about actin and myosin, concentric, eccentric contractions, the better you're going to be in life. So in a sense, I'm really taking that and going, the more we can understand our mind and really begin to understand, like, our awareness of our awareness can dictate how we function in life. Because so many people, buddy, are not like you, where like success comes naturally for you. You were successful back in your 20s, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So most of us are not Dave Palumbo. We struggle a lot more to be successful and keep it together. And that's really why I want to focus on the mind-body connection, because I think a lot of people, especially in this day and age, buddy, have really lost touch, you know?
Well, how do you bring someone back from that? You know, when you see they're doing drugs and they're just not doing the right thing, how do you bring, I mean, I try to give people advice. I try to like question, what do you like to do? What do you love? What are you passionate about? And a lot of times they'll tell me and I'll get them involved into, I'll say, well, then you got to pursue that. And that solves a lot of people's problems. But some people tell me nothing. You know, there's not, I don't know, I like working out, but there's nothing really, you know, what do you tell someone like that? I mean, how do you help someone like that?
I mean, that's a great point, man. You know, I mean, definitely, you know, what you say right there, the longest study on health and longevity done by Harvard, it was, I forgot what it was called actually, but it was 75 years they followed Harvard graduates. And the conclusion was that happiness and health is love. So basically, like you said, if you find what you love in life, you will go, because as you know, you got life suffering, man. Life, like, who is it? Chris Thompson said, find what you love, then let it kill you. You know, life really is challenging. So, you know, you might as well lay it down for fucking something you love, man, because either way, you're going to the grave pretty quickly, actually, you know? Right. So if you haven't discovered that, then you are not really fully human yet, because to be human is to be willing to suffer, in a sense, for something, whether it be family or a higher cause, like, you know, Republican or Democrat or whatever the hell you're getting, you know? But, you know, I would say those people really got to spend more time then, in a sense, because, you know, it ain't about having bigger biceps. It's about finding your passion and devoting your life to that. And then if they haven't found it, then they really got to start doing something.
Well, I see a lot of bodybuilders, Brian, who that's what their passion is. And as soon as they can't do it anymore at the elite level, you know, and they're getting older and or they have injuries, they die. They literally die. It's like they're done. There's nothing else they want to do other than that. They keep pushing and pursuing that, even though there's no reality to it. And then they wind up dying somehow. They overdose or they have a heart attack or just weird ways. It's like they find a way out of this world, like they're done, you know? Yeah.
Dude, you and I, listen, one of our first mentors you and I shared, I don't want to mention his name, but he was like a mad scientist, super intelligent, actually.
Dr. Mike,
you know, he passed away very early, man, you know?
Yeah.
So that, I think, to some extent, and he was obsessed, as you know. He was like a cyborg. I mean, you made that movie where you were like a cyborg. It's kind of funny because our mentor really was that kind of guy. I mean, I was in the gym one time and he's operating on his wrist to kind of put some growth hormone on it, and so he could do more shrugs, you know. God rest his soul. I love him to death, you know, but he was a madman, you know.
Yeah, but I'm saying Dr. Mike, and I've talked about him before on the show with several different people who had known him. He's a perfect example. Here's a guy who could have done anything and everything. He was the most talented guy, probably the smartest guy I've ever met, and he just wanted to bodybuild. And it got to the point where there was nothing else that he wanted to do, and that was it. It was time to depart. And it's a shame because he could have done a million other things. You know, luckily I have 6,000 things that I want to do. I don't know if I have enough years left on the planet to do all the things. So I'll probably live till I'm 100 because I have so many things to do. But I think when their journey is over, they leave, and that's what I really believe.
Yeah, which is okay, without a doubt. You know, I do think though that, you know, something you said that really caught my attention. You know, I think curiosity, what makes us special, Dave, as human beings, really among all the animals, is that we are thinkers. We are curious, you know? And so if somebody, for example, is a bodybuilder and is like lost without that, if they could just calm their mind down, their natural curiosity, it's not about being intelligent. You don't got to be smart. Like, you're very intelligent. Doc was very intelligent. This intelligence that I'm talking about is the intelligence that comes from the quieting of.
I think we lost Brian. I think what he was trying to do is talking about quieting of the mind, you know. We lost you there for a second. You was talking about the quieting of the mind.
When you quiet the mind, you download divinity. You download a higher consciousness, in a sense, really, of which we all are part, that really can help steer you in the right direction. And that's why, again, quieting the mind. You can't think yourself out of those problems, man, but if you can quiet the thinking mind, which is the human mind, you can start to tap into that creative spark that, is what success is based on,
Yeah. Yeah, and look, you got just like you practice meditation, you got to practice life. If you want to be good at anything, you got to practice it. And I think a lot of people are lazy in that sense. They want.
They're mentally lazy, especially, man.
Yeah, they see people, out there who are successful, and they want to be like them, but they don't want to go through the steps that it took for that person to get there. And that's why when I get into something, I immerse myself in it, like to the point of people like, what's wrong with this guy? Because I have to know everything there is about it, because I want to know what I'm getting involved in, and I want to be the best that I could possibly be at what I'm interested in. And that's how you become a master in anything. And it doesn't, you could study, but it's going to take years and years before you actually do become a master in anything, because it's about practicing. It's same in meditation. You can't meditate once and get the benefits out of it. You got to meditate every day if you want to get the benefits out of it.
Exactly. I mean, Dave, you're lucky. You really are, because you're a true Renaissance man naturally. Maybe your parents gave you that, but a lot of people don't have that parental influence that you had, as an example. And so for them, there's got to be something else. And like I said, I think quieting the mind is one thing that really helps. For example, I lost my thought actually now. I can't remember what I was going to say.
Because you're not practicing your meditation. Do you meditate every day, Brian?
I do, yeah. I am very. I meditate now more than I go to the gym, even actually. I really am committed to that. I've seen in my own life profound. Dude, my first experiences of transcendence, whatever you want to call it, were actually meditating. Believe it or not, I used to do walking meditation at an old monastery, and I had the same ayahuasca experience without even taking any chemicals at all. Wow! So I'm a big believer in it, actually. Yeah.
Do you? How long do you meditate for usually?
My goal is a minimum of 12 minutes a day, man. That's my minimum goal. And if I do, I do sets. I'll do like 2 sets. If I feel good, I'll do 3 sets. Get a really good brain pump going on.
Do you listen to meditation, or do you just do it yourself?
I just focus on my breath. Yeah, if I pick a spot, I just really just sit. I mean, dude, it's the art of doing nothing. The brain, the human mind always tells you, you must do something. You must fix something. But that's doing something is that what creates the problems. So it's almost meditation is counterintuitive, because you're really just sitting and doing nothing. Yeah. And the monkey mind says, you're nuts. What are you doing? You got to do something, So by quieting that mind, it's like, wait, I am not this mind. That's not me. Yeah. That's the beginning of not identifying with self. And that's the freedom that comes from regular practice.
Well, Wayne Dyer always said that the voice of God was silence.
Yes,
and
exactly.
You got to be able to sit in silence.
Dude, the Bible's, listen, I'm not, as you know, I'm like you, I'm a skeptic and an atheist, but the Bible has got so much profound wisdom. The Old Testament, be still and know that I am God. Yeah. There it is right there.
Yeah. You're a walking contradiction because of your belief system, because
exactly. Which is, but my goal is to make you think. By being an atheist and yet having transcendent divine experiences, it doesn't really fit to most people, because as you know, the ultimate truth game is paradoxical. It's the collapse of the opposites, actually, And so by getting people to realize that the ultimate truth is paradoxical, you begin to push them into new realms of understanding.
How can you believe there's no God if you could access this higher ability that we have? What is that? Isn't that God?
Well, the reason why is because I don't believe in your God. That's the thing.
I don't have a God. I don't have an old man sitting on a throne. That's not my God. My God is the universe. It's what's there when we're not here,
Yeah. The Jews have it right, because in the ancient Jewish tradition, they had to use the word YHW. You couldn't even use the word Yahweh, because to say that word was to put it in a box, right? This is God. Right. And so they were right about saying it's so sacred and beyond the mind's ability to comprehend. Don't even use that word. And so I really respect that Judaic tradition of don't try to put it in a box. That's why I say I'm an atheist, more to provoke that way of thinking, which is God is beyond your ability to even comprehend. Exactly. Dude, even the word infinity. Think about infinity. You can spend a lifetime thinking about infinity and never even get around, a minutia of what it is.
You don't like conventional religions. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. They're too Planet of the Apes. Exactly. Too primitive, man.
Brian, how do people contact you if they want to get in touch with you, or they want to, just chat with you?
I just lost you, buddy. What happened?
How do people get in touch with you if they want to chat with you or ask you questions or, go beyond this conversation with you?
Just go to the website, rxstress.com. I'm a big stress guy, man. So rxstress.com, you can find me there, buddy.
Yeah, and if you want to use any of Brian's products, I got the Euphoria X on DavePalumbo.com, and that's a terrific product.
That's the most potent one, actually. That's right. My most potent product, Dave's got it, actually.
Yeah, now, Brian, you actually said that's a good product to take before meditating almost, right?
Oh, dude, it's amazing. I've had so many people. My meditation teacher even said, and this guy's got a doctorate in Chinese philosophy. He speaks Mandarin and Cantonese.
Right.
He was like, holy crap, you know what? It really does give you a deeper meditation experience than you could get by yourself. Yeah, without a doubt.
Well, Brian, always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm sure we'll have you back again. One of these days, maybe I'll get up to your farm up there, and we could do some ayahuasca in your kitchen or something like that.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.